If you were starting a new business, would you use Scrum for that? Somebody recently asked me that question, and since I have experience both with starting up new businesses and with Scrum, I have my own opinions on this matter, and it's not as straightforward as it looks. So let's explore. The first thing we need to understand is that every business undergoes a certain life cycle. We start with an idea and then we want to introduce our product to the market. So we are building something to see product market fit, to see whether we actually have a viable product idea. We'd like to learn whether the product that we are building gets accepted by the market, whether we need to tune our idea a little bit or whether we don't even have an idea that is viable. And more often than not, this happens with startups. So we don't even know whether we can earn money with our product. At this point in time, we'd like to absolutely minimize effort to see what we have and whether we have a business model at all. Once we know that, we get into a period of growth. During the growth phase, we know that we can earn money. We even know how to earn money with our product. We just need to do it. And so at this point, we have more work coming in, and we must make sure that the work we do matches what the market requires from our product. Later, we get into a phase where our product is already available on the market. We have customers, we have steady revenue streams, we are tweaking our product, we are adding new things to our product, maybe we're adding new business models around our product. So we are a mature business. Everything is pretty clear, pretty obvious. The devil's in the details. And if we are not careful, sooner or later our product will not be so useful. It will be superseded by other products, or our business might decline. Of course, we would like to prevent this phase by keeping our product fresh and exciting, attracting new customers, giving them a reason to return. So if we can, we would like our business not to decline, but instead to continuously grow and grow and grow. So, where does Scrum come into play now? Well, let's talk about a little bit of how it works when we're starting up a new business. Usually, when I have a new business idea, it's really just an idea. So the first thing that I do is do a bit of market research. Does this product already exist? Are there some laws and regulations that would make our business model unfeasible? And unfortunately, this one comes from experience. Sometimes the laws and regulations are so prohibitive to market entry that it's just not worth even trying to get into a market if we are not sure that this one is going to be a multi-million-dollar hit. So in the beginning, we know nothing. We don't know, does the product already exist? We don't know what does the product even look like. We don't know whether we can even introduce the product. And even if we knew all of those things, we also don't know how we would do that. In this phase, what we might be dealing with is a lot of research stumbling totally on the unknown unknowns. We don't know anything, and probably, if we are fortunate, nobody knows anything. So it's pretty difficult to make any plan at all. And because we really don't know what we're out to do here, I usually do this alone. In this phase, I would never hire people because it's just too early. We don't know whether it's even worth to hire people. Trying to find people will probably take longer than the phase itself will take. So I'm working with one person. And what is Scrum? Scrum is a team-based approach of successfully developing and delivering new products. So to some extent, it's pretty well fit. On the other hand, it's a team-based discipline, and if we don't have a team, Scrum literally talks about the Scrum team all the time. So a team of one isn't really a team. So in the ideation phase and in the product introduction phase, we don't have a team. So why should we use Scrum? We will be using concepts and ideas of Scrum, principles of Scrum, like getting fast feedback, having clear goals, pursuing these goals, and trying to focus our activities on what matters in order for us to achieve the goal that we currently have. Scrum is pretty useful for that, but it's cherry-picked Scrum, and since Scrum says if you're not using all of it, you're not using it. So no, in the ideation and introduction phase, I'm not going to use Scrum, it's just not viable. Then we come into the growth phase. We do have a product idea, yes, and we probably have a certain product market fit. We're trying to turn this one into a stream of revenue and growth of customers while we are growing the product. That's a very good phase for using Scrum if our business model is so viable that we need more than 1 or 2 people. Now, for me personally, had a few business ideas in the past, and the maximum amount of people that I had worked with full-time during the growth phase is 3. And with 3 people, I personally don't see the use of designating Scrum Master and Product Owner roles. It's just we work together, we collaborate, we talk about things. Yeah, we might even have frequent retrospectives, but they tend to be not calendar-based events, they tend to be informal. And sprint sequences, to me, in the early growth phases never made sense, because it's more like the opposite. We have a certain goal that we want to achieve. It could take a few days, it could take a few weeks, and we would like to achieve this goal. So we're not time boxing and making our goal fit the time box. Much rather, we're setting a goal and setting flexible time boxes. How long would we want to spend with this goal until we have an inspection point to see whether what we are doing makes sense and is moving us in the right direction. This one comes closer to Steve Tannen's time flow. So this one is the opposite of Scrum's time box. The time box is defined by the goal that we're trying to pursue. Of course, similar to Scrum, it should be 1 month or less. In my experience, some of those time boxes, they can be just 2 or 3 days until we have an inspection point. And that works for me splendidly. Again, for me personally, I'm using a lot of concepts from Scrum. They make a lot of sense in my startup context, but my early startup tend not to be in a phase where following all of Scrum rules makes perfect sense. And if it's just 80% Scrum, it's not Scrum. So no, in the growth phase, I'm not using Scrum. Then we come to the phase where our business is mature, where we have an established customer base, an established product. We're tweaking here or there, we might be releasing new versions, we might be releasing upgrades, we're trying to reach new customer segments. Perfect, that's where we can use Scrum. We know what we would like to serve to our customers. We have certain goals, we have a certain roadmap that is what in Scrum we might want to call the product vision and the product backlog. And we're setting for ourselves periods of time, preferably 1 month or less, where we would be delivering value to our customers. Well, that sounds perfect for Scrum, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Now, for me personally, I've had a few business ideas in the past. Some of them didn't make it into the maturity phase, and some we changed customers too quickly to have a long-term roadmap, and our product also changes its nature that it becomes difficult to plan 1 month or ahead. This one is especially true when our product, like in my case, is consulting and coaching services. By the time we know what we would like to deliver, it's probably just a few days until we're delivering something. So if our period of time between receiving demand and producing outcomes is less than a sprint time box, it might not make sense to use sprints. If we have more demand than we can serve in a short period of time and we end up with a roadmap that goes 2, 3, 4 months into the future, not talking in details of the things that we would be doing, but like if we develop some software, we might know that our customer is looking to interface with Google Payments, they might want to have a reporting capability, those kind of things. We might not know the details, we know they're innovative additions to our product that make perfect sense, that provide value to our customers. We don't know what, how long, the details, we just have to prioritize them and see where we create value. That's where Scrum absolutely shines. There's no better thing than Scrum to use for this kind of thing because it keeps the chaos away from the development work itself. We have clear priorities, we have clear goals, we can say this now, this later, we build something, we show it to our customer, we get feedback, we adjust. And when it's good, we can either pivot or persevere. That is, pivot means we are doing something new. Persevere means we are doing more of the same thing. And that is where the Scrum mechanics are basically just created to do this. And lastly, we get into the decline phase. Of course, we don't want our business to decline. But let's assume it does. That means that we are lacking something. We need new ideas. We need something fresh to keep our company going, to keep our customers interested, to come back to our product again. How can we do this? Again, perfect use case for Scrum. This is our idea. That's the goal we would like to pursue. Let's build something, get feedback, see if it kicks. If it doesn't, discard the idea. If it does, build more of it. Make the customers happy, keep them coming back, return to a growth phase in our business, and do this as long and as often as possible. So let's summarize again really quickly. New product development means, yes, we're developing new products or making new additions to our product. That's what Scrum is for. If we can plan a little bit ahead into the future and we would like to bring some routine into our development process, yes, that's what Scrum is good for. If you have more than 1 or 2 people. If you don't have more than 1 or 2 people, if your notice period is too short between getting an idea and delivering it, you might not want to use Scrum, because it would just mean that you're putting ideas on the back burner until the next sprint planning, and that's of course not what we would want to do, because we want to move fast. If we don't even know whether we're going to pursue an idea or not, we should not try to make the successful delivery of that idea part of our working process, because it might be the most feasible thing to abandon it after getting a little bit of information, trying out a few things. If this is our standard way of working, then Scrum might not be the best fit for us. Finally, there is some work that is a bit unsuitable for Scrum. Let me go over the key points of what kind of work does not lend itself to Scrum very well. The first thing that we already hinted many times is spontaneous work. This one is coming up, we pursue it, and immediately we either get a result or we abandon it. That's not a good use case for Scrum. The second thing is that we have low density work. I already hinted this. In the early phases of a startup, we might have little sparsely distributed work. Sometimes in the initial phase of a startup, we only have a few things to do that drag on over a long period of time, because we depend on things that are outside our control. If I need to go to government office to get a permit and they give me an appointment in 3 months, I can't proceed on this one. And if that is the one thing that I need to do to get my business going further, then I don't have all that many things to do until I'm taking the next step. Usually what we also need to see is that the most successful innovators, they do not leave their job immediately. They don't burn the bridges to start up something. They create some kind of security. Even Bill Gates, he did not immediately drop out of college to develop BASIC. If you have a daytime job and you are pursuing a startup, keep the daytime job and keep the startup work at low volume as much as possible until it really kicks. And if you just have 1 or 2 action items per week, then Scrum might not be the right thing for you. The third kind of work that does not lend itself so well to Scrum is recurrent routine work. For example, if you have a drop shop and an order comes in, what you need to do is make sure that that order gets fulfilled. That is recurrent, routine. It's non-creative work, so it doesn't lend itself to Scrum so very well because you can't put it on a calendar and you need to serve it when it comes in, and ideally you just do it in a few minutes. You're not really advancing your product, you're just doing things that you know how to do and you just need to do them. That brings me to the fourth item that does not lend itself so well to Scrum, and that is non-creative administrative tasks, like, for example, doing the tax filings that I need to do at the end of every month. Now I know how to do this, I have to do it, but it doesn't really pursue my goal. It's a kind of a non-value added activity that does not help my business advance, but if I don't do it, of course, I'll have my business in trouble. So I need to do it one way or the other. What kind of a sprint goal would I make from these 4 kinds of categories of work? Well, they don't lend themselves to Scrum, and if that is all of the work that I'm doing, then other approaches, for example Kanban, might work better in my case. Kanban, for the record, always works because it does not have any fixed roles, it does not have any fixed events, and it does not mandate fixed periods in time. Kanban works splendidly when I have to coordinate multiple things that some of them might create a short-term backlog, and it also helps me to see whether I'm working on the right things and doing things in an efficient manner, or whether I'm procrastinating or other things. So that's my summary. Would I use Scrum for a startup? Potentially, yes, but not in an early phase. In an early phase, Kanban works splendidly for me. If I get into a later phase with my startup, I hire people and I have plannable, predictable outcomes that would keep an entire team busy. Yes, I would use Scrum.